and welcome back to Women's Football Talk, the YouTube channel that brings you all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. There's only one place to start, and that's here over in England. This weekend was Women's Football Weekend with no men's games on in the Premier League or the Championship. The FA decided to dedicate this weekend to women's football, with all games in the WSL having staggered kick-off times across the weekend, and some games being shown on BT Sport and the BBC Red Button. And the place we're going to start is at Leigh Sports Village, where Manchester United played their arch city rivals Manchester City. Casey Stoney's side headed into this weekend at the top of the table, knowing any sort of point or victory would see them remain at the top at least for 24 hours before Arsenal played Chelsea, which is a game we'll get on to later. Now looking back at the game, Gareth Taylor's Man City started off really well and caused Casey Stoney's side a lot of problem in the first half, especially from set pieces, and that is where City scored their first goal thanks to Chloe Kelly. They had a corner on the right hand side which United failed to clear, and a ball from Steph Horton found its way back to Chloe Kelly, whose brilliant first time finish with the outside of her boots went past Mary Earps in goal. And then shortly before half time, Laura Coombs doubled Gareth Taylor's side's lead with a fantastic strike from the edge of the box, and leaving Earps no chance to get onto it. It's quite clear that Casey Stoney wasn't happy with her side at half time. She made a half time change, bringing on Kirsty Hansen, who definitely had a impact on the game, and she definitely made things a lot easier for the Red Devils. Shortly after bringing Hansen on for Jess Sigsworth, American striker Tobin Heath scored a wonderful goal from the left hand side past Ellie Roebuck in goal for Manchester City to pull it back, and then that certainly lit a fire under United's bellies because they got going a lot more into the game and then became somewhat of the more dominant side in the game. And then 15 minutes from time, Hansen herself scored a goal to leave it level. Gareth Taylor's side will be bitterly disappointed that they couldn't continue on from their excellent first half performance. They had a few chances in the second half, but United definitely stepped up and looked like a completely different team in the second half, and thoroughly deserved their point on that performance alone. In the second game of the weekend, that was on the FA Player, saw Aston Villa play Birmingham City in the second City derby. Birmingham come into this after a decent October, and so far have had an okay November, whilst Villa have been struggling all season. Going into the game, I thought Claudia Walker of Birmingham City would prove to be the difference maker, and in this game she did, as she scored the only goal of the game for Carla Ward's side. In the 72nd minute, it was a phenomenal goal. Lucy Whip crossed in the ball, no pun intended, but she whipped it in, and it fell to Walker's feet, who absolutely buried it past Lisa Weiss in goal for Aston Villa. Gotta give credit to Birmingham City. They did really well despite only having two substitutes available throughout the whole game due to injuries that they have sustained throughout the season, and it is a good overall victory for them. The third game of the weekend saw Everton play Reading at Walton Hall Park. This was a game that was on the BBC iPlayer and the Red Button, and it was a very end-to-end game throughout the whole 90 minutes. It was 5 minutes before the half where the Toffees scored thanks to Simone McGill. Again, she was one I thought was going to have a massive impact on the game, her and Izzy Christensen for Willie Kirk's side. And minutes later, Natasha Harding scored an excellent goal. Whether she meant it, I'm still unsure about it to this minute. It was one of them where she looked like it was a cross, but it went into the back post, and for England Lionesses fans it was very reminiscent of what Beth Mead did against Brazil a few years back. So the points were shared in that game. Both teams had a lot of chances, very end to end. I think a point was very evenly shared there. And then the final game of Saturday saw Bristol City play Tottenham and it was a game played on the FA Player. We got to see Alex Morgan play for the first time in the starting 11, making her second appearance of the season for Tottenham. She only played the 45 minutes though, as this was only, like I said, second game back from injury and post giving birth to her daughter. So it was no surprise that Morgan was taken off at half time. I think it was a planned substitute. Bristol City took the lead after 37 minutes. Chloe Lagazzo with a penalty. It was a very good penalty from Lagazzo again. However, the lead didn't last long before Siri Vorm pulled one back for Tottenham with an excellent strike herself. And then in the second half, Ashley Neville put Spurs ahead just after the hour mark from a Siri Vorm set piece, and Ashley Neville rose up and put it into the back of the net past Sophie Baggerly. Then about 15 minutes from time, Rihanna Dean was sent off for Spurs after coming together with Sophie Baggerly. I think it was the correct decision by the referee. It was a very nasty collision and both players were down for quite a while and required some treatment. And then in stoppage time, we played 7 minutes due to that incident between Baggerly and Dean, and the ever-present Ebony Salmon scored for Bristol City to earn them a hard-earned point. Leaves both sides lurking at the bottom of the table and still looking for their first win this season after 7 and 6 games respectively. Then on Sunday, West Ham played Brighton in a game that could have went either way, very end to end. Both teams had a lot of chances. I think in the first half the best chance fell to West Ham's Martha Thomas, who had a chance to score, but she sent her shot just wide. And then in the second half, with 20 minutes to go, Rihanna Jarrett scored a lovely goal for Brighton. The ball came in towards her. She managed to chip it over Mackenzie Arnold in goal, and then as she flicked it over, she managed to get her head onto it before the oncoming West Ham defender could get the ball before her, and she scored the goal for Hope Powell's side, which sees Brighton move up to 8th place, whilst leaving the Hammers a place behind them, but 4 points behind them in the WSL table. And then the final game, which was arguably the biggest game in terms of history of the two clubs, saw Arsenal play Chelsea at Meadow Park. Again, this was a very close encountered game. Either side could have won it throughout the game, and I think a point it was evenly shared. Beth Mead scored the goal 4 minutes from time for Arsenal after great work from Viviana Miedema, who had for the last 20 minutes, half an hour, went out onto the left wing, and her pace seemed to get the better of sorry, I've forgotten her name, Millie Bright, who had picked up a slight knock, but Miedema's pace, and then she put in a beautiful ball to Mead, who managed to slot it past Anna-Katrin Berger in goal. And then just before we entered stoppage time, Pernilla Harder did some great work on the right hand side. She tried to put in a cross towards, I think it was Sam Kerr in the box, but it took a deflection off Lottie Wubben-Moy and it looped over Manuela Zinsberger, so a point was shared there. Despite their own goal, I've got to say the whole Arsenal defence of Katie McCabe, Lottie Wubben-Moy, Leah Williamson and Leonie Meyer played excellently throughout the whole game. They were very dominant and very limited Pernilla Harder and co to not a lot of clear-cut opportunities, though they did have obviously the chances to score. Talking about Joe Montemore's side and playing Viviana Miedema on the left-hand side, I think when they play against the so-called big clubs, so your Man Uniteds, your Evertons, your Chelsea, your Liverpool, your Manchester Cities, and obviously rivals Tottenham, I think he needs to play her on that left-hand side, because throughout the majority of this game, prior to her moving out on the left and in the Manchester United game, the central defenders managed to cope with Miedema really well, and I think going forth they need to play her more in a left wing role so she can use that turn of pace and catch the teams off guard a bit more, and I think having a bit more surprise to them going forward in attack is going to be something that Joe Montemurro really needs to look at. Maybe we'll see that later on in the week in the Conti Cup fixture against Tottenham, as this week is Conti Cup fixtures before heading into an international break. Elsewhere in England, we had the Championship played all on Sunday. All games kicked off at 2 o'clock, again all available on the FA Player. Blackburn Rovers and Liverpool could only pull out a 0-0 draw. Elsewhere, Coventry United lost 9-1 to Leicester City. It was an incredible win for Leicester, and they thoroughly deserved it after having a look back at how they played. London Bees beat Lewes 1-0, and Sheffield United lost to Durham 1-0. Elsewhere in the world of women's football, England Lionesses game that was scheduled for the 1st of December against Norway has been called off due to Norway not wanting to travel to the United Kingdom due to the ongoing pandemic in the world, which is understandable. I mean, it was only a friendly, but it's bad news for Phil Neville's side because it will mean that they haven't played a competitive game against anyone since March. However, the Lionesses are still expected to meet up later on this month and play another in-house 11-a-side. I think a couple are planned to be scheduled, and then the Netherlands have announced that they will be playing the United States on the 27th of November, so it's a rerun of the World Cup final, and hopefully Netherlands will get their revenge in one of Serena Wiegman's last games in charge. Good news for Arsenal and Scotland women, as Kim Little and Lisa Evans and Jennifer Beattie have been included into their latest squads. All three of them have been missing time through injury. However, Kim Little has played in the last few games for Arsenal now, but Evans and Beattie have been missing. Elsewhere in the world of women's football, the big game in Germany saw FC Bayern Munich play Wolfsburg, and it was Bayern who won 3-1. It was probably the big surprise of the weekend. In the Bundesliga, I think not many were expecting that result, but they have had an excellent season. Sorry, it was 4-1, not 3-1. I forgot about the last goal. So it was a very shock result in terms of the scoreline, but Bayern have had an excellent season. So the goal scorers for Bayern Munich in that game were Viviane Asseyi, Marina Hegering, Lineth Bernstein, and an own goal from Dominic Janssen 12 minutes from time, and Wolfsburg's goal scorer was Lena Gosling from the penalty spot just after the hour mark. Elsewhere in the world of women's football, PSG's women won 14-0 on Saturday, I believe, against Issy, and 7 of their goals were scored by Nadia Nadim. Yes, 7 goals scored by Nadia Nadim. That's an excellent feat for her and PSG, who are in second place, 2 points behind Lyon women in Ligue 1. Lyon themselves won 5-1 against Soyou on Friday. Kadisha Buchanan, Nikita Paris with a brace, Wendy Renard and Jennifer Marchand with their goals. Also a bit of news, I think came out Thursday night Friday, was new women's soccer, the NWSL side, Racing Club Louisville, who will be coming into the league next season, have acquired the rights to Manchester United pair Tobin Heath and Kristen Press, Caitlin Ford and Alana Kennedy, meaning should they go and back to play in the United States, they will join Racing Louisville instead of their old clubs, which was Orlando Pride and Portland Thorns are two of the sides I can just think of off the top of my head, which is, I think, still a strange thing for many to get their heads around in Europe, how their players can have their rights bought out whilst not even playing in the country. And I know Casey Stoney said she spoke to Heath before the Manchester derby to see if she was all right about it, because obviously she's not really having a choice about it, because that's how the draft works over there for expansion clubs, and she said she was fine, and it didn't affect her game as she managed to get on the score sheet for Manchester United. That's all we've got time for. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Head over to our Twitter page and give us a follow, and we will see you later on in the week to review the Conti Cup fixtures and have a look at more fixtures coming in the coming days. Until then, we will see you next time. Goodbye.